What if I told you that the next passenger airplane might not look like an airplane at all? Imagine arriving at an airport and seeing a giant flying machine with engines mounted on top, a body shaped unlike anything you've ever seen, and technology that promises to cut fuel consumption dramatically. It looks more like a spacecraft than a commercial airliner. Some people believe this strange aircraft could completely change the future of aviation, while others wonder if it's simply too futuristic to ever become reality. Today, we're taking a deep dive into one of the most ambitious aircraft projects ever announced. This is the incredible story of the Airbus ZERoe. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications because the future of flight is closer than you think. For more than a century, airplanes have followed almost the same basic design. Long cylindrical bodies, two wings stretching from each side, engines hanging underneath, and a tail at the back. While these aircraft have become safer and more efficient over time, one major problem has remained the same. They still burn enormous amounts of jet fuel. Every single day, thousands of commercial aircraft connect cities across the world. They carry millions of passengers, transport cargo, and keep the global economy moving. But this convenience comes with a cost. Aviation contributes a significant share of global carbon emissions, and as air travel continues to grow, engineers have been searching for a completely new solution. Instead of making small improvements every few years, Airbus decided to ask a much bigger question. What if we redesigned the airplane from the ground up? That single question led to one of the most fascinating aviation projects ever imagined. The Airbus ZERoe is not just another airliner with newer engines. It represents a completely different vision of how people could fly in the future. The goal isn't simply to make flying cheaper. The goal is to make commercial aviation much cleaner by replacing traditional jet fuel with hydrogen. Hydrogen has fascinated scientists for decades. Unlike conventional aviation fuel, hydrogen produces almost no carbon dioxide when used correctly. Instead, the primary byproduct is water. If engineers can overcome the technical challenges, hydrogen could completely transform the airline industry. But designing a hydrogen-powered airplane isn't as simple as replacing one fuel tank with another. Hydrogen must be stored at extremely low temperatures, nearly -253 degrees Celsius. That requires large insulated tanks that take up much more space than traditional fuel tanks. Existing airliners simply weren't designed for that. That's why Airbus engineers realized they needed something far more radical. Instead of modifying today's airplanes, they began exploring entirely new aircraft shapes. One of the most eye-catching concepts immediately captured the world's attention. Unlike traditional passenger jets, this futuristic aircraft features a smooth blended body with wings that appear to merge naturally into the fuselage. The engines are positioned high above the aircraft instead of underneath the wings, giving it a unique appearance unlike anything currently flying. At first glance, many people thought the design looked impossible. Some compared it to a giant manta ray gliding through the sky. Others said it looked like something from a science fiction movie. But every unusual curve serves a purpose. Engineers discovered that smoother airflow around the aircraft reduces drag. Less drag means lower energy consumption. Lower energy consumption means airlines can travel farther while using less fuel. This principle has been studied for decades, but modern computer simulations and advanced materials have finally made such designs much more realistic. Airbus believes the future isn't about slightly improving old ideas. It's about creating entirely new ones. The company's engineers spent years studying hundreds of possible layouts before selecting several hydrogen-powered concepts. Each concept explored different ways of carrying passengers while safely storing hydrogen fuel. One version resembled a traditional passenger jet. Another featured propellers. The most futuristic design was the blended wing concept that instantly attracted worldwide attention. Although the aircraft still remains under development, it demonstrates how dramatically aviation could change over the coming decades. One of the biggest engineering challenges isn't simply flying. It's storing hydrogen safely. Traditional aircraft store fuel inside their wings. Hydrogen cannot easily be stored that way because it requires much larger cryogenic tanks. Those tanks need heavy insulation to keep the hydrogen in liquid form. As a result, engineers had to rethink the entire internal layout of the airplane. Instead of filling the wings with fuel, specially designed tanks could be placed inside the aircraft. This changes everything from passenger seating arrangements to cargo capacity and even emergency systems. Every part of the airplane must be redesigned around hydrogen. Another challenge involves the engines themselves. Normal jet engines burn aviation fuel. Hydrogen behaves very differently. Engineers are developing new combustion technologies capable of safely using hydrogen while minimizing harmful emissions such as nitrogen oxides. At the same time, researchers are exploring hydrogen fuel cells. Instead of burning fuel directly, fuel cells convert hydrogen into electricity. That electricity can then power electric motors driving advanced propellers or fans. If successful, this technology could make future airplanes significantly quieter than today's aircraft. Imagine boarding a plane where engine noise is dramatically reduced. The cabin becomes more peaceful. Communicating with fellow passengers becomes easier. Communities living near airports experience less noise pollution. This is another major advantage engineers hope hydrogen aviation can deliver. Safety, however, remains the highest priority. Whenever people hear the word hydrogen, many immediately think about historical disasters. But modern hydrogen technology has advanced enormously. Today's aerospace engineers use sophisticated sensors, reinforced storage tanks, multiple backup systems, and advanced monitoring equipment designed to detect even the smallest leak. Hydrogen has already been safely used for decades in space exploration. Now engineers are adapting many of those technologies for commercial aviation. Of course, creating the airplane itself is only one piece of the puzzle. Airports around the world would also require major upgrades. Instead of filling aircraft with conventional jet fuel, airports would need hydrogen production facilities, specialized storage systems, cooling equipment, transportation pipelines, and entirely new refueling procedures. This represents one of the largest infrastructure projects the aviation industry has ever considered. Building that network will require governments, airlines, airports, fuel companies, and aircraft manufacturers to work together on a global scale. The investment could reach billions of dollars. Yet supporters argue the long-term environmental benefits could justify the enormous cost. Airbus has repeatedly emphasized that transforming aviation cannot happen overnight. Developing a completely new aircraft takes many years. Every component must undergo thousands of hours of testing. Wind tunnel experiments analyze airflow. Computer simulations predict performance under extreme weather conditions. Prototype parts experience enormous stress tests. Engines run continuously for thousands of hours. Every safety system must prove reliable before passengers ever step on board. Only after years of successful testing can certification begin. Certification itself is another incredibly demanding process. International aviation authorities carefully inspect every design detail. Manufacturers must demonstrate that every system performs safely under normal operations and emergency situations. This includes takeoff, landing, engine failures, severe turbulence, lightning strikes, bird impacts, and countless other scenarios. Only after satisfying these strict standards can an aircraft enter commercial service. Because of these challenges, revolutionary aircraft often require more than a decade of development. But history shows that every major breakthrough in aviation once seemed impossible. When the Wright brothers flew for only a few seconds in 1903, few believed airplanes would eventually carry hundreds of passengers across oceans. When jet aircraft first appeared, many doubted they would replace propeller planes. Yet today, modern air travel connects almost every corner of the planet. Innovation always begins with bold ideas. The Airbus ZERoe represents one of those bold ideas. Instead of accepting the limits of existing technology, engineers are asking what commercial aviation could become over the next generation. Even if the final aircraft looks different from today's concepts, the research itself is already shaping the future. New lightweight materials. More efficient aerodynamics. Advanced hydrogen storage. Smarter flight systems. Cleaner propulsion. Every breakthrough contributes to tomorrow's airplanes. And this may only be the beginning. The next question is one every airline executive wants answered. Will passengers actually trust an airplane powered by hydrogen? History suggests they will, but only after years of proven safety. Every new aviation technology has faced skepticism. People once feared flying across oceans. Later, many believed twin-engine aircraft could never safely cross long distances. Today, millions of passengers board those flights every year without giving it a second thought. Trust is built through testing, transparency, and time. That is exactly why Airbus is investing so heavily in research before introducing any hydrogen-powered passenger aircraft. Every valve, every fuel line, every storage tank, and every engine component must perform flawlessly under thousands of different conditions. The company knows there is no room for mistakes. Modern commercial aviation is already one of the safest forms of transportation ever created, and Airbus intends to keep that standard. Beyond safety, another challenge is economics. Building a revolutionary aircraft is expensive. Building the airports to support it is even more expensive. Hydrogen must first be produced. Today, much of the world's hydrogen comes from natural gas, which still creates carbon emissions. However, scientists are increasingly focusing on green hydrogen, produced using electricity generated from renewable energy such as solar and wind power. If green hydrogen becomes widely available, the environmental benefits could be enormous. Imagine airports powered by renewable electricity, producing clean hydrogen on-site and fueling aircraft that emit little or no carbon dioxide during flight. That vision may still be years away, but many countries are already investing billions of dollars into hydrogen technology because they see it as an important part of a cleaner future. Airbus is not working alone. Governments, universities, research organizations, engine manufacturers, and energy companies are all contributing to the development of hydrogen aviation. Every successful test brings the industry one step closer to making commercial hydrogen flights possible. Competition is also driving innovation. Around the world, several aerospace companies are experimenting with alternative propulsion systems. Some believe sustainable aviation fuel is the best solution. Others are developing battery-powered aircraft for short regional routes. Some companies are testing hybrid electric systems that combine conventional engines with electric motors. Each approach has advantages and limitations. Battery-powered aircraft are environmentally friendly, but today's batteries are too heavy for long-distance passenger flights. Sustainable aviation fuel can reduce emissions, but it still relies on combustion. Hydrogen offers one of the most exciting possibilities because it has the potential to power much larger aircraft while dramatically reducing carbon emissions if produced sustainably. That is why the Airbus ZERoe project has captured worldwide attention. Its unusual appearance is only the beginning. Hidden beneath its futuristic exterior are years of scientific research, advanced engineering, and thousands of design decisions intended to solve one of aviation's biggest challenges. Many aviation experts believe that future airports could look very different from today's terminals. Instead of large underground fuel pipelines carrying jet fuel, airports may include enormous hydrogen storage facilities protected by advanced cooling systems. Specialized refueling vehicles may connect directly to cryogenic tanks. Ground crews will receive entirely new training. Maintenance engineers will learn different inspection procedures. Pilots will become familiar with new cockpit systems designed specifically for hydrogen-powered aircraft. Even emergency response teams will develop new operating procedures. In other words, hydrogen aviation isn't simply about creating one new airplane. It could transform the entire aviation ecosystem. Passengers may also notice several improvements inside the cabin. Because future aircraft designs are being developed from scratch, engineers have an opportunity to rethink passenger comfort. Cabins could become quieter thanks to advanced propulsion systems. Improved aerodynamics may reduce turbulence in certain situations. New structural layouts could provide more spacious interiors depending on the final design. Large digital windows, customizable lighting, smarter climate control, and advanced entertainment systems could all become part of next-generation aircraft. Although many of these features are still concepts, they demonstrate how future aviation may become more comfortable as well as more sustainable. Of course, no major technological transition happens overnight. The aviation industry is known for moving carefully because safety always comes first. Even after Airbus completes prototype testing, certification will require years of evaluation. Test pilots will perform countless flights under different weather conditions. Engineers will analyze every system after each test. Every improvement will be documented before the aircraft moves one step closer to commercial service. This slow process may seem frustrating to those eager to see futuristic airplanes in the sky. But it is also the reason commercial aviation has earned such an exceptional safety record. Patience saves lives. One interesting aspect of the ZERoe project is that not every concept will necessarily become a commercial aircraft. Some technologies developed during the program may appear on future Airbus airplanes even if the exact concept changes. For example, improved hydrogen storage systems, lighter composite materials, advanced aerodynamic designs, or smarter onboard computers could all be used in future aircraft generations. Innovation often works this way. A single research project creates dozens of smaller breakthroughs that eventually transform an entire industry. Looking further into the future, some experts imagine airports where traditional jet fuel becomes increasingly rare. Instead, aircraft powered by hydrogen, sustainable fuels, and electric propulsion may operate together depending on route length. Short regional flights could use batteries. Medium-distance routes could rely on hydrogen. Long-haul international flights may use advanced sustainable aviation fuels until hydrogen technology becomes practical for larger aircraft. This gradual transition allows airlines to modernize without replacing their entire fleets overnight. For passengers, the experience may feel surprisingly familiar. You would still check in, pass through security, board the aircraft, and fasten your seatbelt. But behind the scenes, almost everything powering the flight could be completely different. The fuel. The engines. The maintenance systems. The airport infrastructure. Even the environmental impact. That is what makes the Airbus ZERoe project so fascinating. It challenges assumptions that have existed since the beginning of the jet age. Instead of asking how to make today's airplane slightly better, Airbus is asking what tomorrow's airplanes should become. Whether the final production aircraft looks exactly like today's concept images remains uncertain. Aircraft designs often evolve significantly during development. Some features become more practical. Others disappear entirely. New technologies emerge. Engineering priorities change. But one thing is clear. The future of aviation is entering one of its most exciting periods in decades. The next generation of passenger aircraft may not resemble the airplanes we know today. They may fly farther while producing fewer emissions. They may operate more quietly. They may use fuels that were once considered impossible for commercial aviation. And they may inspire a completely new era of global transportation. Perhaps years from now, travelers waiting at an airport will watch a sleek hydrogen-powered aircraft taxi toward the runway. Children will point at its unusual shape. Passengers will take photographs through the terminal windows. For them, it will simply be another flight. But for the engineers who spent years turning impossible ideas into reality, it will represent something much greater. It will prove that innovation, determination, and imagination can reshape the future of flight. The Airbus ZERoe is still a vision of tomorrow, but every great achievement begins as a vision. Whether this exact aircraft enters service or evolves into something different, its influence is already changing the aviation industry. The race toward cleaner, smarter, and more efficient air travel has begun, and the next chapter of aviation history is being written right now. If you enjoyed discovering the future of aviation, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and tell us in the comments, would you fly on a hydrogen-powered airplane like the Airbus ZERoe? Your answer might surprise us. Until next time, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.